Okay, I'm getting word that my video is a little shaky, and that's only because the surface that I have my laptop on right now, I won't be actually working with my laptop during this reading, but right now I'm kind of working my controls, so it's on a surface that's probably making it shake a little bit, so I apologize. Okay, so Ocean Sea Poet is recording it for me, so I'm going to get started. So as I was saying, I gave a little introduction, Michael. I think you were the only one who was not in the room at the time. I gave a little introduction to myself, and you and I know each other well enough. You are my fantastic web designer, so really appreciate you being here today. So I selected 3 excerpts that I'm going to read from Sandcastles, and these happen to be my favorite excerpts, actually. So I'm going to begin with reading them, and what I'm going to do is just let you know what page I'm on. And then, again, feel free to type in any questions that you want to ask me in the chat feature at the bottom of the screen. And once I'm done reading these excerpts, I'll answer your questions as best I can. Okay, so the first reading I'm going to do is on page 82. Acquiring things brought me comfort, admittedly. If I died and Dean wrote my obituary, what would he say? She acquired many great items in life. That convector oven of hers was her pride and joy. She honored the things in her life by polishing them up to perfection, so they shined brighter than anyone else's. Leah Stone knew what to buy and how to buy it. We will miss her greatly. I suddenly wanted to dismantle that comfort zone I had created. Imagine a eulogy. I left nothing worthy for Dean to highlight. He'd have to stutter his way through my life's accomplishments and stumble over the fact that I had yet to experience black Hawaiian sand between my toes, a cross-country drive in an RV, a vigorous climb to the top of Mount Everest, an afternoon sailing trip in the ocean, a vacation in the Alps, or the power of flying an airplane. I would have died a person who failed to achieve any of those things. My heart started to beat erratically. Would Willow see my death? Could she see my death? Would I have to endure a long, messy, drawn-out saga one day? I wished I could choose the way I would die, like ordering takeout from a Chinese restaurant. For an appetizer, I'd like an extra-large order of healthy blood platelets, some badass immune protectors. Oh, and can you also toss in some of those brain chemicals that ease pain naturally? And for my main death entree, I'd like to order menu item A1. Fall asleep and never wake up. And can you delay that until I reach 92, please? That should actually fund me with plenty of time to get through a few things before the order goes through, right? Hell, why did she have to plant such nonsense in my mind? I needed to understand this imbalance that Willow told me about. Okay, so that was my first excerpt. The next one is going to be on page 137. I scanned the landscape, and across the river, I saw Willow. She wore a white, silky dress, and her hair hung down past her shoulders in adorable waves. Excuse me. She hoisted an umbrella and giggled as she looked up into its bright vortex. She danced around the edge of the river without a care of falling into it. With one graceful leap after another, she twirled and laughed her way to a swinging bench. Her smile radiated as she leaped onto it with her bare feet, cradling the long chains that secured it in place. With one hand and the pink umbrella with the other hand. She leaned her head back, away from her umbrella, and opened her mouth. Sticking out her tongue, she lapped up the fresh rain that began to drizzle down onto her red rosy lips. Just then, a rabbit scurried by her, and she called out to it. She leaped off the bench and onto the rocky ground. Bending to its level, she picked it up and nuzzled its neck. It closed its eyes, obviously comforted by her sweet and innocent soul. The entire forest beamed to life with her presence. The green leaves danced in the wind, waving their beauty and offering her a light breeze to once again dance with. The ground smelled fresher, the air lightened. The sky looked bluer above the canopy of trees. Willow twirled the rabbit with her, kissing its nose and humming a melody to it. I wanted to dance with her like that. I wanted her soft lips to tickle my skin. I wanted her to spin me around in wide, wonderful circles as she tilted that umbrella up just at the right angle to award us a splash of freshness without getting pummeled by the bigger drops. No distractions, no disease, no worry of psychic snippets slipping in to steal the moment. Just me and Willow dancing to our own song in our own forest in the valley of greens, violets, yellows, and pinks. Mesmerized, I inched closer to the water's edge. Suddenly, the ground moved, pulling me away from her. It swept me so far away that she turned into a speck amongst the colorful background, twirling her pretty umbrella. Then, like a star in its final state, a small light flickered and grew into a big, big bright light, too bright to look at. I peeked through my fingers, but the light blinded me. Okay, the next one, last one, is on page 168. I wanted to drop a protective coating on it to save it, so we could always remember that day at the beach when life stood still and all that mattered was the building of that sandcastle and the quiet folds of time and space that blanketed us in safety. As its walls remained strong and its beauty still very much a part of our existence, we stood back and admired the product of our shared time and effort. And even as that tide rolled back in, just as it did the other day, and washed our memory into the sea, a happy lightness lifted us, knowing that no amount of force could destroy that which we now unpackaged in our hearts, our treasured time together, building temporary sandcastles that stood and fell to remind us that life was temporary, and so it should be experienced without limits, regrets, or unfulfilled dreams. I closed my eyes in that scene and enjoyed the light mist of seawater on my face. With every inhale and its respective exhale, the mist cleared up any confusion as to my purpose standing on that beach, to remember that I was and always would be just as intricate a part of the universe as the mist, sand, shells, and wind were. I opened my eyes and stared up at the picture of the blue sky and wispy clouds. I was back in the acupuncture room. I inhaled the soothing scent of honeysuckle, and a tingle coursed through my entire being. A sense of extreme comfort swam in me. I viewed the buttercream-colored walls with a whole new set of eyes. I stretched lightly, and a peace overcame me. Then Yvonne knocked and entered, walking over to me with a smile. "How do you feel?" I inhaled the honeysuckle deeper into my lungs. "I feel like I ate some pretty awesome mushrooms." She laughed and began removing the needles. "Talk to me. What happened?" "Well, let's just say you turned me into a believer." She walked over to the receptacle and dumped the used needles in there. "Well then, let me be the first to welcome you to the land of open chakras, harmony, and balance." Okay, so I want to check out and see what the chat box looks like right now. See if I've got any questions that came in. I hope I did. Okay, my first question is from Joanna Darrell. Silly. She has a question that says, "May I have a question for later? Chocolate or sangria?" How about both? I will probably be indulging in sangria and chocolate, I'm sure. All right, so here is another chat from Joanna. She says, "It's so lovely to see an author reading and obviously enjoying her own book. What made you choose those 3 excerpts for us today?" Well, I wanted to choose excerpts that would not give away the entire story if somebody has not read it yet. But I also wanted to choose excerpts that showed the literary side of what I was trying to do with the story. Also, I wanted to showcase a scene that has to do with the acupuncture, the holistic part of this whole journey that Leah, Dean, and Willow have gone on. And then lastly, I really wanted to get that scene in about the Sandcastles, because to me that's the entire symbolic nature of this story, is that life is so temporary, just like a sandcastle is. Can build up a sandcastle to be the most beautiful thing in the world, and it should be enjoyed while it's there, because it eventually, ultimately, the sea is going to come in and wash it away. And that's okay, because the sea will wash it away and something more beautiful will come in its path again. It's just the ebb and flow of life. And that really is what this story is about. It's just enjoying that temporary nature of life. It is temporary. We all know that. And so to live with regrets and broken promises and any of that kind of stuff that just kind of bogs a person down is really wasteful. And there's no better time than right now, present time, to just get started living your life. Okay, let's see. From Cassie. Is Shauna coming back? Shauna is from Staying True. Is Shauna coming back sometime? And I just wanted to say, I still love your books, since they always have a strong message, such as the Muse did. I have considered bringing Shauna back into her own novel, her own story, because I think her story is so powerful. And I think that she's a very complex character who can teach us a lot of great lessons. And so it's not off the table. It's not something I'm working on right now. The next 2 books I actually have ideas for, and possibly the next one after that. You never know. Thank you for that. Okay, Michael has a question. Great reading, perfect format. Nice to see an author engage people in this way. Looking forward to seeing what is to come. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. Michael, if anybody is looking for a great web developer, designer, he's fantastic. I can always put you in touch later. Let me know. He was the one who designed my website, curveswelcome.com, and he's just a fantastic person. Okay, come on. Anybody have any questions for me? I would love to answer some. While I'm waiting for some to come in, I am going to read. There is one favorite sentence I have. Actually, I have 2 favorite sentences in this book. They're very short, and out of context, they might not mean much, but I would say that this one in particular is my favorite one, and just love it. It's at the end of chapter 1. It's the last sentence, and it says, or last paragraph, I should say. Her challenging gaze and teasing question stirred me in a strange, unsettling way. It tickled the dormant parts of me, somehow reaching down into my soul and bringing me out of the depths of a sensual hibernation that I didn't even realize I had even entered. I thought that sentence came to me. That was Leah speaking. And what's interesting about writing fictional novels is I get so engrossed in my characters, and I've said this before in other interviews. I feel like I get so in tune with them that they take over the driving, that they take over the steering wheel. They start driving me in a direction that I didn't even know the story was going to take. And that's what happened with that last line. I didn't realize I was going to take Leah's character in that direction. That's not what I planned at all when I was planning out my novel, when I was storyboarding it. But somehow that sentence that just came into my mind, it was her speaking, and that took the novel on an entirely different direction than it was going to take. So that's why I like that sentence and so much, is that I just found it to be really powerful and character driven. Okay, let's see. Oh, I see Diane just popped in. Hi, Diane. Okay, let's see here. Joanna asks, how does your creative process begin? All right, well, that's a good question for right now because I'm in the process of that creative process. I am brainstorming. Well, I actually just started writing The Dance, and that's my next novel. And about maybe past a month, I've been brainstorming this novel. And so my creative process always begins with research. For this particular novel, oh, Diane, if you could mute yourself, that would be great. Just in the bottom left corner of your screen. Um, Anyway, the dance, I started researching that by hands-on research. I went to a bee apiary that is very close to my house, and this beekeeper, a fantastic beekeeper, let me suit up and go visit honeybees, and I was amongst tens, I would say 10,000 of them. He has 45 hives, and it was the most fantastic experience. So that's how I first started getting really into one of the lead characters' heads, is to be in the bee environment, because that is her environment. So the next step of my creative process is I love to journal as my characters. I love to sit down with a notepad and pen and pretend I am my character and writing a journal entry. And I do that until that character is in my head. And so it starts with the character, and then the story will evolve around the character. What I do is I start to ask questions like, what is the worst thing that could happen to this character? Like, what would make this character so uncomfortable? And then I start to just place scenes together, like string them along on a storyboard, lined up like that, and I sort of can shift them around afterwards. And it's just putting these characters into complex situations and seeing them grow from that. And then the next step is to just get writing. So that's where I'm at now. I'm just starting to write the scenes that I laid out, the master scenes. Those are the most pivotal moments in the book. I have about 10 of those. And so I'm just going to start from the first one and just start to string along scenes in between those, like a pearl necklace. Okay, so Joanna asks, Sandcastles has a strong alternative spiritual approach to life. Is this something that is personal to me? So that's part A of the question. Spiritual approach to life. Well, spiritual in the sense, not a religious sense, obviously. Spirituality and religion are two separate things, but the spirituality of it, yes. I became very interested in meditation and holistic approach to health. And when I was researching that novel, The Sandcastles, I went to the extreme. I mean, I went to holistic centers, I had acupuncture, Reiki, I've been to a nutritionist, I've been to a functional medicine doctor. I've been through it all, and I learned so much from these people. And part of the functional medicine doctor, she was the one who introduced me to meditative yoga. And so that is, I would say, is where my spirituality is based. That's where it comes from, that's where it stems. That's what I do before any writing session, is I meditate. And so yeah, I would say it's very personal to me. And I do believe in functional medicine, which is an approach that is a little different from just general practitioner type of reactive. I'm very proactive with my health, and I advocate for that strongly. Second part of that question is, how do the characters you write about come to influence you during your writing? Well, they take on a life of their own, and I learn so much from them. Oh my gosh, so much from them. I don't know, I find that part of the creative process extremely fascinating, and I've heard other writers discuss it as well, where the characters, they take on the voice of the book, and sometimes you'll just write a scene and you'll say, where did that even come from? I didn't even know my mind wasn't going there, and yet this character brought me there. And that is the coolest part of writing for me. I just love that. I learn so much about life through my characters. I really do. They teach me humility. They teach me, they ground me. They teach me how to forgive. They teach me how to forget. They teach me how to love unconditionally. I love flawed characters. I love taking a character, giving her major flaws, and then watching her evolve. It's so fascinating and fun. Okay, so far, those are the questions that have come in. I'm going to read something else here. One of my another favorite, I should say, sentence in this book, and it's one that I actually framed and I gave it as gifts for my beta readers and my editor and some influential people in my life, because I just this sentence came to me, I believe, through the spirit of my friend Pat, who passed away, and he was a part of this book. And I was looking for that special way to close out this novel, to sum it all up, and I feel like he gave that to me. And I apologize if you have not read Sandcastles. I hope this doesn't ruin it for you, but I'm going to read it anyway. The biggest lesson I had learned since meeting everyone at that table, including Pat, who hung out with us in spirit, was that the secret to enjoying a beautiful life would never lie in the strength of trying to save it, but solely in the magic of building it. I just found that, feel like that's the lesson that he gave me in life before he passed away. That's what he was trying to get into my thick head, is to enjoy building life. Don't try to save it, because we can't save it. We're all going to die one day. It's just the way it works. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the temporary aspect of it, because that's the way the world works. Instead, focus on building the best life you can build, just like you would with a sandcastle. You're not going to just build a crummy little thing because you know it's going to eventually be swept into the ocean. No, you're going to build the grandest thing you can build because it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's a process that you're in, the here and the now. Hopefully building it with somebody that you care about, or just being around people that inspire you and influence you, or you're there together as a project and you make this beautiful sandcastle. And that's what life should be. Surrounded by people that you care about and who build you up and inspire you. Okay, let's see. Some more have come in. Okay, Michael asks, there is a video that he shared. I'm not sure if I can actually click on that and share it here, but he said, how does your interactions for your research impact your life? Oh, I'm assuming that is the beekeeping video. I created a video of my experience with the bees. Okay, so with that context, let's read this question. Love this video. How does your interactions for your research impact your life, and what do you take away from them? When I was amongst the bees, I have to say, I was really fearful before I got down to the actual hives. And mainly it was because the beekeeper actually said, please don't panic. Don't panic when you're around the bees, because he cares about his bees. And the last thing that a beekeeper wants to have happen is somebody panic and knock over their hives and lose the queen bees. But I took it when he was saying that, and I was suiting up in a very, very hot garage. It was like 85 degrees that day, and I was putting this suit on. My mind was, oh my God, why is he telling me not to panic? Is something going to happen? Like, should I be worried? Are they going to come and just like attack me? I didn't know. So I kept that fear to myself. And as we were walking down the field into the apiary, and I got amongst the bees, that feeling of fear was not even present. That I was just inspired. I was in awe. It was the most beautiful feeling in the world. I could actually feel the wings making breezes on my face, and the hum. It's the most beautiful sound in the world. They were dancing. I mean, the bees were just dancing on top of each other. It was the most beautiful thing. And that, I'd say the biggest thing I took away that day was face your fear. Don't let fear get in the way. But that was the first major thing. Fear can really hinder us and hold us back from so many things. And I'm so glad I didn't let that happen that day, because I was really close to saying, I don't know about this. Maybe I should just read about it instead. So I'm glad I didn't do that. But the second thing is, there is such a communication that happens amongst bees. It is the most beautiful thing in the world to witness and to hear. It's incredible. They work together as a system, and none of them are selfish. They're all selfless, and they're working towards a common goal. and it's the most beautiful thing in the world. So that was my big takeaway is, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we could learn to work together as a society like that too? Okay, let's see here. Sorry for making my screen shake again. Joanna, I love the way your books are written and edited. Is editing an important part of your creative process? Absolutely. I have an editing team, a professional editing team. There are two of them, and yes, that I absolutely, I would never think to publish a book without having critical editing done. I also have 5 beta readers, and for different books, depending. I try to just take people from my general readership and get 1 or 2 varying opinions from that as well. So absolutely, and I also go through my books. I read them I read them aloud, so I can hear mistakes before they're even published. So yes, it's a huge part of the creative process. I wouldn't even call it the creative process, actually. They're 2 different processes. Editing comes after the creative process, and it's something that it cannot be taken lightly. Cassie asks, do your chapters often tend to be a part inspired by people you have met? Oh, characters, not chapters. Yes, for the most part. I think that there's always a part of me in my characters, I think. How can that not be, right? And I would never try to base a character on somebody that I'm close with. Absolutely not. I fear that, actually. When I first started writing, I actually didn't even tell people close to me that I was a novelist and writing and publishing books until I think I published The Muse. I kept that very, until I started really using social media and having a large presence on there and having interviews and things like that. I kept myself very private in a way because I didn't want that. I didn't want people in my life, my sisters, my brother, my mother, anybody thinking that I was writing about them. Because then what would happen is I would totally shut down my creative process because I would feel like I have to censor everything and think, oh gosh, what if my sister thinks this is her? Because obviously there are going to be relationships within the books that have sisters, have mother and daughter relationships. And so I'm very careful about that. I don't base characters on anybody that I am close with. I may meet somebody at a restaurant and find them to be incredibly curious and go back and not know the person personally, but I may just go ahead and write a characterization up based on somebody that a funny waitress or something like that. Let's see here. Let me just read through here and see. Okay, Diane. Suzie, if you could rewrite any of your books and come up with an entirely different ending, which one would it be? Oh, geez, that's a tough one. All right. I think I would probably go with The Fish Room, and here's why. First, it was my first novel ever, so I was very green in writing that. And I do feel like there's so much more I can do with those 2 characters, Emma and Haley. I would like to explore them more. I think that I could have had a little more fun at the end there with them. And people have asked me, are you going to do a sequel? We want to hear about Haley's life, because I really focused on Emma's point of view in that story. So I guess I would probably delve more into Haley's character, because she was a favorite of many, and many found her to be very sexy, strong, and really wanted to know more about her. So that's what I would probably do. All right, my time is almost up, I've been told. I don't know how much time I have left. If this cuts out, then any questions that have come in, I will answer them. I'll put it on Facebook and Google Plus if I don't get to your question, okay? So if this cuts out, because it may, okay, Ocean Sea Poet's telling me I have 7 minutes left. So I do want to probably try to wrap it up a little bit. Let's see, I think that's all the questions I have so far. Anybody have any other questions that you want to ask? I've got time for probably one more before we wrap up. Diane wants to know where Bumblebee is. Well, I have the room closed off because I just don't want her to come around and start barking and all that kind of stuff. She might, so she's probably downstairs just looking out the front window, and there's some construction going on next door, so she's probably keeping herself busy, keeping an eye on the construction workers, making sure they're not coming close to my house. My little protector. Joanna says, I have loads of questions, but probably shouldn't. Just ask one. Let's finish it up with a really good question. I've got, like I said, about 7 minutes left, and I'd love to answer at least one more. Diane's telling Joanna to go ahead, do it. I do want to say while I'm waiting, my website, I would love for all of you to visit if you haven't already. That's curveswelcome.com. And there you can sign up for my blogs. They contain my newsletter, it has my newsletters, has videos, and would love for you to do that so we can keep in touch, and always just an email away. And Ocean Sea Poet wanted me to share another website in addition to the one that I shared earlier on the screen. The other website is another Saturday Night Poet.wordpress.com. Another Saturday Night Poet.wordpress.com. And I will be putting that out there on Facebook and Google Plus so everybody can follow Ocean Sea Poet, because like I said, there's major talent there. I don't want you to miss out. Great person. Okay, Diane's asking if I have any plans to do this again. Yeah, I think so. I got some of the kinks worked out today. There were a few kinks, and that's always to be, expected with new technology. But I really like this interface, and I'm enjoying it. I think that this will be a great way to do book discussions. So Diane, maybe that would be a great idea for our book club, My Lesbian Book Club, which we host on Facebook. If you are not a member, check it out, mylesbianbookclub.com. Joanna, if you could write a book hold on, let me read that again. If you could write a book based with combined characters from your previous novels, which ones would you choose, and what do you think their story would be? Oh, goodness, let's see. Wouldn't that be fun to throw someone like Haley and, I don't know, Becca James, wild Becca James in her wild days when she was, just becoming famous as a musician? What would Emma do with Becca James? That would probably be fun. Okay, I'm being told not to answer any more questions because I think that I'm gonna have to wrap it up. Just a few more minutes here, and I just wanted to be able to say goodbye. Thank you so much for attending. If you haven't read Sandcastles, please do. I love the support. If you have read it and haven't left a review on Amazon, oh, I'd be so grateful if you could. As I promised in social media, on Facebook, I believe it was, I did say that I'm going to give away a signed copy of Sandcastles. So I'm going to randomly select somebody from this meeting. I have all your email addresses and your contact. I see who's here. So I will be posting the winner shortly. So I'll just need your mailing address, and we'll private message that information to each other. Please feel free to join me on Facebook and Google+, Instagram if you're on Instagram, Pinterest, and let's just keep interacting. I love interacting. I love this kind of interaction together, being able to hear your questions, because it helps to inform my writing. When I hear questions based on, especially characterization questions, it really helps me to think even deeper about the characters I'm writing. I want to thank you for your support, and I wish you a fantastic Saturday, the rest of the day. I know some of you are from the UK, and it's probably well into the night now. It's about 3:45 p.m. here, and I'm probably going to sign off and have a glass of sangria, some chocolate, and maybe some dinner. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.